Hello everyone and welcome to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society's first ever virtual pub session. We obviously should be up on Speyside just now. In the same way we should be up at all the whisky festivals taking place throughout the month of May. Unfortunately, we're stuck at home, but we're going to do our best to bring the festival experience to you this evening. We've got a good lineup. We've got some music coming up in the virtual pub. We have Nick Baker, the wildlife expert who we've been working with on our Spirit Animal campaign that you might have heard about. We've got a whiskey quiz coming your way, and we've got a tasting with Ian Allen, at Glen Murray. And joining me, I'm delighted to say, is my co-host for the evening, the one and only Mr. Hans Offlinger, coming to us from the Netherlands, I believe, Hans.
Yes, I'm currently at home in my den.
How are you doing there?
Doing fine. I was looking very much forward to this because it's the first time in 30 years I won't be in Speyside around this time. So trying to set up a virtual meeting with so many people we see every year, that makes me happy. Yeah. Really?
Yeah, because you're a regular in the Speyside Whisky Festival scene, aren't you?
Beg your pardon?
You're a regular on the Speyside Festival scene.
Yeah, I'm one of the very few who attended every festival so far from the beginning. Which, at first I didn't realize, but then when you're at the 14th or 15th, you start thinking, maybe I don't want to miss any. And see if I can make it to all of them. And now, unfortunately, I can't make it to the 2020 because it's basically not there. So this is a perfect substitute, I think, with all the social media we have and seeing what we've already been doing with the team in the Benelux, with Bob and Ansgar and Thomas and Monique. They do so much on virtual tasting and try to connect with our members in the Benelux, and I think that's important. If you don't keep in touch with each other, you get kind of lost. So again, good initiative. Thank you, Richard, for inviting me.
No, it's great to have you. So we've got lots ahead. Hans, you're going to stay with us throughout the duration of the pub session, but we're going to kick things off with some music. It's a friend of mine who is based up on the Isle of Skye, but he knows Speyside very well. He has done a lot of music for the Society with our podcast music and also our distillery visits. He's provided music for that, and he did a session for us on Facebook very recently. So I'm delighted to introduce Donald Livingston, coming to us live from the Isle of Skye. So Donnie, good to see you, and I'll hand over to you. Give us some tunes.
Good evening. Fiskarva from the Isle of Skye. We've got a beautiful sunset developing here. Hope it stays that way. It's very chilly though. So I'll just start. I'm going to do a couple of songs just to start with. The first one I'll do. It's an old travelling song, originating. There's various versions of it. There's an Irish version, and this is the one that's come up through Scotland. So it's called "The Mountain Streams Where the New Moorcocks Crow." My dog and gun through the blooming heather, for game and pleasure I took my way. I spied a maiden, she was tall and slender. Her eyes enticed me sometime to stay. I said, my darling, do you know I love you? Tell me your name and your dwelling also. She says, excuse my name, sir, I have my dwelling by the mountain streams where the moorcocks crow. I said, my darling, if you ain't a farmer, you'll be tied to life to one plot o' land. But I'm a roving Johnny, and if you'll gang with me, you'll have no ties, so give me your hand. But if my parents knew, sir, that I loved the rover, I am sure it would be my overthrow. So I'll stay a while for another season by the mountain streams where the moorcocks crow. So it's fare thee well, another season. We will meet again in yon shady vale, and I'll set you down upon my knee then, and you'll listen to my lovesick tale. And it's arm in arm we will go together to those lofty trees and the valley below, where the linnets are singing their songs so sweetly by the mountain streams where the moorcocks crow. Yeah, so
Fantastic, Donnie.
thanks for listening there. I've got
Yeah,
time for
very
another
nice.
one.
You're going to give us another tune?
I'll give you another one here, aye. So
Right,
this
on you
one's I written myself a few years ago. It's on an album that's called Rona, and there's a wee bit of whiskey in it. So I get together with quite a few of my pals, Richard being one of them, a few times a year, and we take off, or I come down in the Highlands and we go climbing and all sorts of adventures, but there's usually some guitar and a lot of malt whiskey involved. So this is one based on a trip out to the Isle of Rona, just off Skye. It's a beautiful island, almost uninhabited, and it was on a day before Midsummer's Night. It was a beautiful, one of the best sunsets ever, and we sailed off from a pier just in Portray. We'd been in a pub and we left about 10 o'clock at night and went out and we fished for mackerel until about 2 in the morning, and then went back. We had all the mackerel gutted, we rolled it in oatmeal, had it tasty, and we had all the whiskey. So this is a song I kind of wrote after that particular episode with a few embellishments, of course, as most songwriters do. So this is it here. Cast off in the cold evening light, with a burst of fire in our veins. The soft westland breeze sobered sharply as we spun away from the misty light of the end. Anticipation held us high in the wind, blistering spray on scorching face. Silhouettes of distant islands we behold amidst a wash of purple haze, and all is still. I touch the soul of the sea, all is still, and it opens up my mind. A picture calls, we drop the lines in silently, and in the company of friends we unwind. Braggarts exchange as darkness falls, knowing smiles swallow back. Broken glass and entrails wash around the skiff, a shoal of silver breaks the crack. Feathers snare lines are glistening in the night, heaving buckets by the 10. The stars are shining kindly from above on a crowd of broken men, breaking free from the stench of the city, exhaling fears of an urban world. Brothers join in perfect tranquility, for in the company of friends we will hold. Pass the pipe around their circle of peace, gazing through the heart of the fire. Bygone tales and songs of childhood released, and revelations inspired. Mackerel skies and whiskey mellowed in smoke, still the stomach and mind. To a man we unite in solitude, leaving heartache behind. And I'll return to the heart of this island, and the soul of a distant sea, cute and stilled in my memory, for in the company of friends we were free.
Fantastic, Donny. Great stuff. Nice to see you, and we'll come back for more of that later on in the pub session. So cheers for that. We're going to move on and introduce our one and only wildlife expert, Nick Baker, who some of you may recognise from presenting on the BBC and elsewhere. And Nick has been working with the Society for the May outturn, which many of you have seen today, where he's been pairing animals with whiskey. So quite an interesting concept. So Nick, thanks for joining us in the virtual pub.
It's an utter pleasure. It's lovely. It's great. And Donny's hot, isn't he? Well, he said it's quite cold, but he's wearing shorts, so he's clearly on fire. But really lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
He's up in Skye, and they're hardy up there, so they can deal with anything. Nick, we'll come to the whiskey, but tell us first about your passion for wildlife and really kind of where that started out. Well,
I've always been, I don't really know how it started. It's always been with me ever since I was a little kid. I've been obsessed with wildlife of all forms, whether it's spiders or flies or woodlice or birds. I guess I'm what they call a biophile, which means that all my world orientates around the natural world rather than my own species. I'm not very good with my own species, but I relate, and I just seem to. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. I had no idea I'd ever turn my sort of interest into an occupation, but I'm the luckiest man alive in that respect, that's for sure.
Okay, good stuff. I think Hans wants to come in.
Yeah, well, Nick, I have a specific question for you. You may know that I've done a lot with whiskey and music, especially whiskey and jazz, bourbon and blues, how I combine them and make specific blends. With me, it works like if I drink Lagavulin, for instance, I hear Dexter Gordon playing with his long notes. But it works the other way around too. When I hear Miles Davis, I want to drink Bruichladdich. When I hear Art Tatum, I want to drink Bowmore. How does that work with you? Do you go from the animal to the whiskey, or from the whiskey to the animal, or both?
I go both ways. It's one of those things. I've just written a book called Rewild, which is all about. It's about reconnecting our senses, and it's about honing our sensibilities. So I go through life. I'm very sensitive to sounds and smells. When I hear music, I see colours, and then those colours I see in the flavours of food or drink. It's about everything. It's just been sensitive to all those subtleties and nuances in the world around us. So for me, when I hear a blackbird singing, it takes me back to almost every blackbird I've ever heard singing, and I can see the shapes of the sounds. I feel I could taste those chocolatey notes, and it's all connected. It's a strange one, and it's really interesting to hear you say that, because I don't meet many people like that. I'm sorry, I do apologise. My hair has gone mad tonight. It's this lockdown haircut. You see, I haven't been to the barber for it just exploded. So I do apologise. I can just see myself in the screen, and it's like, oh my God, what's this bit doing over here? I'm not worried if you're not.
Nick, I was interested in that sense of like it's about heightening your senses, because when we taste whiskey, it's all about the sensory experience and really concentrating on those aromas. And I suppose when you're out looking for wildlife or observing wildlife, it's very much the same thing. It's about using those senses in a very kind of attuned way.
It's about connecting all those neural pathways. It's about connecting different parts of your cortex. So when I see a bird, I'm also hearing the bird singing. I'm smelling the vegetation. Often when I go out for a walk, I will I'll crush the leaves as I go just to smell them, and that takes me back into the environment. And what's really beautiful about that, and it's the same with whiskies as well, is once I've got a taste for something, every time I taste it again, it takes me straight back to that first experience, I guess. So it's a wonderful thing. And where the whiskey comes into all this is that obviously different whiskies have different flavors within them, but different flavor groups will remind me of other flavor groups or other whiskies I've tasted in that particular sort of tasting category. So yeah, it's beautiful. And what it does, it just makes life. It makes life. It makes life really rich and interesting and deep, and it gives everything meaning, and it fires up all your senses, which just gives us pleasure. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? It's all this stuff gives us sort of some fundamental pleasures in this modern world with all the problems that are going on in this technological bubble. It's really nice to get back to these to the chemicals in there that fire off the things in there. Yeah.
I'll get to that. We'll come to your choice of animals for the spirit animals that you've paired with the Society's 12 flavour profiles, and I think I can show them in a second, but I understand we chatted before for the magazine for Unfiltered, which hopefully our members are enjoying right now. But you had some kind of personal experience of all these animals in different situations that kind of inspired a connection between that encounter and the flavour profile of the Society whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. All the animals otherwise I wouldn't be able to pick them. I mean, it's all the animals I've picked because I've been in their presence, and I have those sort of sensory records, those memories imprinted on some part of my brain. So as a consequence, it's quite easy for me to. I think the challenge came when you asked me to come up with these, and the note I got that went with this was, go for wacky. This organisation, this society, they like something a bit different. And I thought, well, okay, gloves are off. I'll go for this then. And I had no one guiding me. I just thought I'd put it out there. These were the first things that came to mind when I was, going through the various flavour categories or taste categories. And it was.
Nick, because I'm showing them just now, but. Some of them are fairly well-known animals, and others I had no idea what they were.
Well, I have to say, I was rather surprised that they were all accepted, because I thought they were going to come back and the people go, "Oh, come on, sorry, no one's going to know what a graphic flutterer is." But that's part of what I live for, which is I like to share with people the lens, or the view through the lens in which I look at life, and all these things remind me very much. So the graphic flutter is the first one, which is it goes with the flavour pairing of young and sprightly. Now you don't get much. Yeah, there's something about dragonflies dancing away over the water, and usually by definition the sun's got to be out for them to be flying. So you get a bit of sparkle for free. You do get that sort of light. It's almost like light entertainment, but it's something there, and it's rather charming in its own way. And the graphic flutter is probably my favourite dragonfly in the world. And I was experiencing them. Well, last year was the last time I saw them. I was actually in the Northern Territory, bobbing around among all these saltwater crocodiles. And the saltwater crocodiles, they're pretty. We all sort of see them. They're kind of common characters, as it were, icons of that part of the world. But no one tells you about the graphic flutterers, and they stole me. They were just there were swarms of these things, and they got the most beautiful wings, and they just were hanging above the water in these clouds, and they're just the most beautiful dragonfly in the world, and that and the sparkle and the subtlety of everything really reminded me of, I guess, those lights, not too dominating flavors that you get in your mouth when you're taking one of these lighter whiskies, and that for me, I mean, if you're gonna want an animal that is light and dancey but sprightly and has all those kind of, you know, zesty, tingly kind of sparkle, then the dragonfly is it. So that's how I started, and you can kind of go all the way through. I guess another obvious one would be you know, that sort of salty coastal oiliness that goes with well, cormorants. I mean, you can't get a bird that appears to be more oily than a cormorant, and I like that because it's very much a bird of those habitats. All of those flavours that you get are very much there, and it just came straight to mind. I mean, it's a flavour group. Now, I've not tasted any of your bottlings in that particular category, but I kind of think of you know, some of the old Pulteney, for example, reminds me very much of cormorants and otters and things like that. So I've already got these connections. And then there's obvious things like the spice bush swallowtail. When I lived in America, butterflies are one of my big passions. I spent a lot of time chasing them around, and I always found myself in a sassafras bush or a spice bush. And the whole experience of this butterfly is very much, and it's not particularly deep, but it is very much a sweet experience. But there is a tingle to them because, of course, the spiciness of these plants is a defensive mechanism. And if you were to poke the spice bush swallowtail caterpillar, it tells you it's not palatable, and it sticks out these osmeterium is the posh word, these tentacles which waft this kind of almost fruity. It's not quite fruity. It's got an edge to it because it's a defensive chemical, and when you're tasting whiskies that have that a little bit of an edge to it, it's generally quite a delightful journey. But there's that little edge which, and it's not delightful. This is where I get myself tangled up because words aren't enough. But it's just a little bit. There's a seriousness to it as well. There's a little bit of depth, something a little serious going on. So that's how I kind of put all this stuff together. And a lot of it's mad. And I think probably the one that most people relate to is the great white shark. When you're drinking something that's heavily peated, all those phenols, they just take you. I mean, you can't look anywhere else. Your taste buds can't almost get anything else. I mean, I'm not really one for the highly phenolic whiskies. But for me, it's very much the same as when you're submersed in the environment of a great white shark. It doesn't matter how pretty those sea anemones are or how lovely those mackerel are, you cannot take your eyes off them. All your senses are trained on the shark. And for me, when I'm drinking a very highly peated or phenolic whiskey, all my taste buds are picking. There's the phenols all the way, you know, and that's how I sort of processed all these things. Hopefully they make sense, and I hope you all enjoy them.
Well, it's all a bit of fun, and we should say that we've got a wee quiz online just now. Let me see if I can show that. Yeah, if anyone goes to the hub page on the SMWS website, we've got a fun little quiz where people can see what their spirit animal is and what flavour profile of whiskey suits their personality. So check that one out. It's just a little bit of fun. Before we go, Nick, I understand you do have a bottle of. Oh, we've lost Nick. He's disappeared. Okay, maybe we'll get him back. Okay, no problem. Well, nice to see Nick, and do check out the quiz that we've put together for a bit of fun.
Richard.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I tried to find my spirit animal, and on another screen, I'm following the conversation on our Facebook page, and I'm very happy to see that Joe McShane and I both turned into an elephant, given our specific ages, being somewhat of the senior team at the SMWS, we are ye olde elephants. And I would challenge all the people who are watching us now: go to the hub, find out your spirit animal, and post it on Facebook so we can all see and laugh and guess. And remember, don't cheat, because you're only cheating yourself. Choose those things that really go with your personality, and you'll be surprised what you end up with.
We lost you there for a second.
You know what? It was entirely my fault. I'm so not used to. Anyone who knows me knows that technology is not my friend, and I was looking at the live comments and watching all the elephants popping up and everyone relating to the animal flavour groups, and then I clicked on something else, and I basically logged myself out. So it's my bad. So you can't do that in a real pub, of course.
I was just going to ask you, because I know that we sent down a bottle of our festival, one of our festival bottles for Isla, which is not going to be out until the end of May, when the Isla Festival is due to happen. But you got a sneak preview of that. So I just wondered if you had it in your glass tonight and what you thought of it.
I do have it in my glass tonight. I really like this. I mean, what I didn't understand at the time was all the. I didn't understand the coding or anything. I just know I like this a lot. This was sent as a prop for the photo shoot that we did in association with the Spirit, Finding Your Spirit Animal. It was a lovely day. It was literally just before lockdown. We only just got away with this. It was. I went out with a good friend of mine who's a photographer locally. I went to some of my favourite places, and I felt I was a little bit self-conscious. I don't normally walk about with a bottle in my backpack. I normally am a bit more subtle if I'm going to do it. I usually take a hip flask, but we were walking about with this on the moor, and do you know what? It worked really well. We had a beautiful sunset. We were up on the moor. All the bracken was glowing. It's a sort of warm, early season depth to it, and this whiskey was fabulous. The only thing I made a mistake of doing was not bringing any water with me, because this is it's cask strength, obviously, but it is so good. But I mean, I do like it neat, but I prefer the nose and all the other things that go on. As you can see, I'm learning my whiskies. I'm a student of whiskey. But as soon as you add the water, it becomes a completely different thing. But it went very well with the scene, and I really like it. Genuinely like it. As you can tell, I've only got half a bottle left. That's what lockdown does to you. You see, I've got to.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
If there's any more knocking around, I'll be up. You know. No, it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. I love it a lot, and it's a really nice one. I don't know really. I don't know which flavour group this really belongs to, but it's got a nice. You can maybe guide me through it. I don't know, but I can. It feels quite. It feels quite. I'd say it's quite elegant. It's quite deep. It's quite complex. There's lots of stuff going on in there, but I'm not. I'm getting close to an elephant in this. I don't know if where it fits, but I'm going to say it smells like elephant. That's the wrong thing to say, because obviously elephants don't smell like good. But you know what I mean? It smells like an elephant feels.
Well, we should say that's a sneak preview, because it won't be available for members until later this month, in time for the Isla Festival. But wow. You were lucky enough to get your hands on a bottle, so I'm glad you're enjoying it. And great to see you, Nick. Thanks for popping into the pub.
I love your talk, Nick. I think we should get together and combine all the senses, make music, images, drink a few drams. Yeah.
I'm all up for that, definitely. I'll take you up on that. And hearing Donny playing was magic. I play harmonica myself, and blues. You mentioned blues, you see, and that's my other passion in life. I'm a bit of a bluesologist, and of course I know the Dutch are pretty much in fact, some of the best blues I've seen has been in Holland, so in the Netherlands. So maybe we'll. I don't think this is the last time we'll all meet each other.
I'll try and get you. Just email me your address. I'll try and get you a copy of Bourbon and Blues, which I published some years ago.
Yes, please. I'm up for that. Anyway, have a lovely evening. Great to see you. And say thank you to Donny.
Okay, we're we've got a wee Speyside-based pub quiz of our own. I'm thinking at the moment we've got Ian Allen from Glenmurray on standby. So I'm thinking before we kick off the quiz, let's bring in Ian and say hello.
Hello, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Ian.
Very well. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. How are you, Hans?
Doing great.
I can't hear Hans. He's going all quiet. I don't get his speaker coming through.
You can't hear me?
I
We
can
can
hear you
use-
okay, Hans.
We can use hand signals. I can thumbs up. It's all good.
So we're going to come to you
Understand this?
shortly, Ian.
Yeah.
Oh, Hans is prepared. We're going to come to you shortly, Ian, but I thought you might want to just participate first in the first round of our Spirit of Speyside pub quiz.
Absolutely.
We've got a quiz with 10 questions, and everyone can participate. We're going to just run through the questions from 1 to 10, and then we'll give you the answers at the end, so you can do your own scoring as you like. If you want to put some comments in, then feel free to do that. But we'll run through the 10 questions before we give you the answers, okay? So here we go. Let's see. So, round one.
Well,
What type of car did Society founder
maybe-
Pip Hill use
maybe,
to transport the very first cask of SMWS whiskey? Okay. Question 2. Which of these Society bottlings is not from a Speyside distillery? Would it be cask number 30, 110 espresso to the power of 4, cask number 94.7 Pickle Rick, cask number 35.230 Symphony of Sensual Sapidity, or D, cask number 5552 Sicilian Citrus Liqueur? Okay. Number 3, name the Society's Speyside partner bar. Four, while many walkers enjoy the Speyside Way, there are other ways to take in the beauty of this region. Which of these hasn't yet happened? This is according to Mads, who put the quiz together. A, motorcycle gathering. B, vintage car rally. C, marathon. D, cycle tour. E, kart race. Five, of the 9 locations on the Malt Whisky Trail, 1 is not a distillery. What would you find there? Six, select the Speyside distilleries that use worm tub condensers. So we've got A, Glen Elgin, B, Mortlach, C, Cragganmore, and D, Ballindalach. Tricky one. 7, which Speyside distillery has 36 stills and a production capacity of 15 million litres per year? Eight, order these Speyside distilleries from oldest to youngest. We've got A, Aberlour, B, Cardew, C, Craigellachie, and D, Strathisla. 9, in which distillery would you find the Wee Witchy? And for a bonus point, what is it? And the final question, what film has a special day that's celebrated at the Spirit of Speyside Festival? Okay, so some there easier than others. Hans, do you have the answers to these?
I do, but can you hear me? I understood there was a problem with my mic, but I come in clear now?
I can hear you fine.
Good. I hope all the people watching can hear me too.
Do you want to run through the answers, Hans?
I will run through the answers, but you have to pull up the sheets from the control room.
Okay.
So we're going to look at answer on question 1. What type of car Pip Hills used? That was a Lagonda. The second question: which of these society bottlings is not from a Speyside distillery? It was number 94.7. Answer B, the Pickle Rick. And I read on the Facebook page that someone is actually drinking it at the moment, which he shouldn't do because we're on the Speyside Festival. But anyway, enjoy it. All the SMWS whiskies are a joy to drink. We'll move on to question number 3. The Society's Speyside partner bar is, of course, the Quaich Bar at the Craigellachie Hotel. But we take into account that Craigellachie is okay too. Question 4, interesting one. We experienced some tests this afternoon with Ian and me, and I didn't have a clue, but we both got it right. It was just a lucky guess. It was the kart race. That's never been done yet. And I was reading that Ansgar Speller thought it a good idea to try it the next time they're there. Well, Ansgar and Thomas, I wish you good luck. I may even watch and film the event. We'll move on to the next question, 5. Well, this, of the 9 locations on the Malt Whisky Trail, one isn't a distillery. What would you find here? There's a little pun here, and of course, the wood refers to the Speyside cooperage. That's the right answer. Moving to question 6. Select the Speyside distilleries that use warmed-up condensers. That was an interesting one. Very interesting. We also tested this one, and it was a trick question because all 4 of them have warm-ups. And both Ian and I didn't get further than Ballandell, Cragganmore, and Mortlach, and then we said, well, Glen Elgin probably doesn't have them. So in good Dutch, we call that an instinker. Okay, next question. Number 7. Which Speyside distillery has 36 stills and a production capacity of 15 million liters per year? Well, there can only be one. That's Macallan. Question number 8. Well, what do you think? Which is the oldest one? That's not the difficult one. Almost everybody knows it's Strathyla, but then it gets a little more tricky. The right order is Strathyla, Cardew, Abelard, and Craigellachie. Question number 9. In which distillery would you find the Wee Witchy? Well, you cognoscenti, you all know that that's Mortlach. And Mark Lindsay said, yeah, top of the bucket list to get a tour around here. You have to wait, Mark. You have to wait for a little while. Hopefully next year. You could have a bonus point here if you can tell what it was or what it is. The Wee Witchy is a still. The little still that makes that Mortlach so special. Then we move on to the last question. What film has a special day that's celebrated at the Spirit of Speyside Festival? Well, actually we should say a series of films, and all the credits here go to a certain Mr. Allen, who in his spare time loved to roam around on the countryside in his stormtrooper outfit. Of course, this is Star Wars. And those of you who were lucky last year could join the Star Wars tasting in the warehouse and get your picture taken with Darth Vader having a dram on the side. It was one of the best tastings I've ever experienced, and the crowd was wonderful. Don't you think so, Ian?
What about that, gents?
Ah.
Does that bring back some memories?
It
You
does.
might
It feels like a
yeah.
galaxy far, far away just now, that's for sure.
You might recognize, of course, our stormtrooper. That's obvious. Can you bring the picture back for a sec?
Oh, okay.
Can you bring it back? You see, next to him is me as Oben One Kenobi. Then the real Princess Leia. Then I think it was Darth Vader II. And Becky is the understudy of Princess Leia, and you can see she is armed to the hilt with the, I don't know what type of blaster this is. Ian, can you tell me what type of gun that is? You should know, of course. You don't?
I don't
Ian?
know if he's hearing you.
I can't hear. I can't hear Hans at all. I can only
Oh.
hear you. I could hear
Oh.
Nick and I could hear Donald, but can't hear Hans at all.
Okay.
Okay,
Well-
well, maybe you will translate then, Richard.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on and taste some whiskey. Delighted that Ian Allen can join us from Glenmurray, brand ambassador and visitor centre manager. And, you know, Ian, obviously this would be an incredibly busy time of year for you up on Speyside. You know, how are things at the distillery?
Yeah, things are good. You know, I think the fates are conspiring to keep Hans and I apart, because tonight we should have been standing on stage together at Glenmurray Distillery doing a little bit of a tasting for people. So they obviously don't want us to speak to each other tonight for some reason. But yeah, no, things are good. Distillery's producing. Strangely enough, the current situation's had the reverse effect for us, because we should have been shut down for maintenance periods, but because we couldn't get the contractors in and couldn't get them into the area, then we carried on producing. So it's actually meant that we've kept running rather than stopped producing, that we should have done for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, tourism is such an important part of Speyside's business, and there's the Speyside Malt Whisky Trail, which I know you're involved with as well. So
Yes.
that must be pretty hard for the region in general.
Yeah, I think it's quite painful for the region. But one thing I'm pretty sure of, you know, the strength of single malt whiskey will bring people back once all of this recovers. You know, the Scotch whisky industry is renowned for its, you know, collaboration between people. The Malt Whisky Trail is just a great example of that. So I'm pretty sure we'll all be working together to promote and push and get everything back all guns blazing once all of this goes back to normal, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's drink some whiskey.
Absolutely.
What have we got tonight?
So you've got one. It arrived. Good. So it hasn't kept us apart from whiskey, that's for sure. I chose one. Normally, when, you know, Hans and I have done some Glenmurray SMWS tastings over the years, we've done a couple of these. And typically, I would normally try and choose something, you know, equivalent of a single cask Glenmurray to match up and to compare alongside some of you guys, your amazing single casks that you have. But because tonight was something which we couldn't be prepared for, and we knew that folk maybe didn't have a lot of the Glenmurray single casks in their house, and went for something which was readily available, something which most people should find out and about in most markets around the world as well. So it doesn't matter where you are. The Glenmurray Port Cask Classic is one which you should be able to find. And I love this whiskey because, one, it's not expensive, which for whiskey these days is a challenge to find. You know, this will retail in the UK at around about £25, but it tastes amazing. It's just a great single malt whiskey, non-age statement, and I think it dispels that myth that we need age in our whiskey to make it something which is great. So I love that noise. That's the best noise. So I don't know, you should all have one in your glass. So we'll start with a quick slange before we go on to talking about. So slange, cheers.
Well, good health to all.
So the Glenmurray, the classic, the Portwood finish. This is a whiskey which it basically revolves around the original classic, the one which probably most people know Glenmurray for. This is a non-age statement whiskey which is matured in bourbon casks with an average age of about 5-6 years, combining some older and younger stocks into it as well. And what we do with that is we take it once it's been created and we hive some of the stock off, and we transfer it for finishing into a selection of different casks. So this range not only has the port cask, but there's a sherry, a Chardonnay, a Cabernet, and there's also a peated expression within the mix as well. So the one we've chosen, the Portwood, was the first of the creation of this range. You know, the original classic was already there, but we decided to create a range around it. And this was the first one which made way into creating that. And the beauty of this one is two things. One, we had a background, we had a bit of a history with Glenmurray and port casks. If you go back to the 1990s, for our centenary bottling, we released a port cask finish. But we'd also done a range of single casks, and they were always very well received. So it made sense that we went down a route, a trodden path that we knew quite well. So port was the first stop. But also, the company which bought Glenmurray in 2008, La Martini Caisse, a French drinks company, they're the world's #1 port producer. So that meant that we had access to a fantastic library of port casks. We knew where they were coming from. We had kind of full provenance of what was in them before and how long they were used for and how fresh they were, you know, getting them into the distillery and filling them fresh. And that pays dividends, I think, on this whiskey. It's natural colour. I know this is not the greatest medium for showing off the colour of whiskey, especially in my very brightly lit room here. But it's got this lovely kind of pink, almost rosy wine blush to it, which I think is quite synonymous with a port cask in itself. And on the nose, you know, whilst port can sometimes, you know, this is European oak port, sometimes it can be a little bit heavy on the kind of tannins. You know, this brings a lot of the sweet, fruity characters, while still retaining that underlying original casking of bourbon within the profile as well. So you're getting some of that lovely sweet toffee vanilla character as well coming through. You gents getting anything from it?
I think it's very, very elegant, and it's almost perfumey in the nose, but a gentle perfume, not that heavy kind of stuff. It's a delight for the nostrils. Not everybody can do a port finish, but you've done great with this one.
Can't lip read there, but I hope he was saying nice things.
Oh, he's saying very nice things about how elegant it is.
It is, you know, and it's, you know, for the age of this, you know, you're looking at an average of about 5-6 years, you know, with some younger stock and, as I said, the older stock into the mix. You know, there's a wonderful roundness and balance to it. You know, my colleague, one of my colleagues at the distillery, she calls this her barbecue whiskey, and I think that's a great kind of descriptor of this. It's got a lovely kind of fruity freshness to it. You know, it's one that you can pull out and share amongst a group of people that you may not necessarily know if they're whiskey drinkers or that, but if this is a great one for trying to bring them into the fold, and if you've also got people there who are whiskey drinkers, typically, it's enough to get your teeth into. You know, there's enough kind of full flavour in there to make this interesting for a regular whiskey drinker as well.
Ian, I got a question admiring not just the whiskey, but the glass that you're drinking it out of with the long stem. Can you tell us anything about that?
This is a glass, I'm not sure I should admit to this. I think I stole this one from Glasgow Whisky Festival from earlier on this year, late on last year. So I'm not sure where it's from. Well, I know where it's from. It's from Glasgow Whisky Festival, but I think I pinched it.
We've got a nice comment from Stephen McConaughey there. Dangerously easy drinking. Love the elegant floral character with a touch of lavender.
There is a slightly kind of herbally note to it, and as I say, that floral feature as well. That will come through. For me, it's all about the fruit and the creaminess on this one. Strawberries and cream. You know, as much as it's a barbecue whiskey, it's a Wimbledon whiskey as well.
Definitely dangerously easy drinking.
I concur with Stephen. It's that perfumey note I was looking for. He pinpoints it on lavender, and I can fully go with that.
Yeah. So we were meant to be sharing a couple of other Speyside drams tonight, but unfortunately, I think with deliveries, under a lot of pressure at the moment, we weren't able to get them through. But Hans was the lucky one who did actually manage to get his bottles. So Hans, tell us what we're missing out on.
Well, this is the first one. And I must say I'm the farthest away, but I did get my bottles. This is a lovely, what people in the trade will call a sherry bomb. It is a bottle 7.233 called a syrupy sweet tale of romance. A first fill sherry butt in a deep, rich and dried fruits flavor profile. I'll read you this wonderful and eloquent tasting note that's probably been composed by either Robin Lang or Charlie McLean or both of them. So give me a moment and I'll read it to you. It's a 13-year-old, 62.3% first fill sherry butt, like I said. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. You will recognize it when you smell and taste this one. It's a sherry monster. And if you see the color, again, it's difficult with the light. It's already dark here in the Netherlands, but it has this golden amber hue, beautiful color, and you really want to try it. And when you stick your nose in it, it's really sherry, but it's not too pungent. Like in the descriptors, it says it's delicate and it has the subtleties of a velvet glove. I must say I tried it neat before we started. It's beautiful. There's a lot of oak going on, different kinds of oak. Parts of it are very dry and other parts are very smooth and elegant. I liked a couple of drops of water. It really opens this one. And again, the boys at the tasting panel said, if you add just a drop of water, you will be on a flying carpet, riding into a moonlit night, sharing Pruneau d'Agen, which is kind of a rare plum. And I must say, plum, and you will recognize it in a lot of sherry whiskies. It's dried, the dried fruit, the sultanas, the raisins, but plums and prunes almost always make part of the makeup of this kind of whiskey too. Utterly delicious. I don't know if it's still available, guys, or is it gonna come online? Can you tell me, Richard?
It went online today, Hans. I don't know if there are any left at this point. I think they may well have been snapped up. Big demand, obviously, for the festival bottlings. So for those who were lucky enough to get them, I hope you enjoy them. There may be some left, I'm not sure.
If there are some members who were too late, I'd be happy to make a couple of nice samples. Becky and I are not going to finish this bottle all by ourselves. We like to share. So I can easily make a couple of samples. So just key in, Hans, I'm desperate. I can only do that in the Netherlands. I can't send this stuff over the border. But if you come up with a really nice remark and a question that shows how desperate you are for a wee sample, Becky will be the judge and she will decide who of y'all will get a sample. And don't cheat. If you have a bottle, leave it to the others who didn't. Do you want me to move on to
a nice offer?
Beg pardon?
Sounds like a nice offer, Hans.
Yeah, and I'll save one for you too, because you're so unlucky. You're so close to the fire and you're still cold.
Georgie Bell says, what a great tasting. She says hello.
Hey, Georgie, good to see you there. Thanks for your compliments. I'll give you a heart back here. We're going to go, if it's okay with you all, we're going to go to the other one. And again, there's some people there in the studio, in the virtual pub, who are going to miss this for the moment. And that's 36.172, a 22-year-old from a ex-bourbon cask. And this is a distillery I'm very, very fond of. I've been that for many, many years. Of course, we don't mention the distilleries, but it's not that far from Glenallachie. So now you can find out which one it is. What you will notice here, it's 22 years old, 60.7% alcohol, second fill bourbon barrel. And you will notice that immediately because it's been in that cask for a long time. And you can do that with a second fill bourbon barrel. If you would take virgin bourbon oak and do it for 22 years, you will end up having oak juice. It won't be very nice because the wood is so fresh, it will dominate the whiskey. This one had time, 22 years old. I was 42 at the time. How time flies. It's very soft and refined, and you will pick up quite some nutty flavors like hazelnut and chestnut. There's some dried orange going on, some brown sugar, and you recognize that in a lot of whiskeys that tobacco smell. And here it's a very fresh, sweet pipe tobacco. It's a bit oily, orangey, a little bit of ginger. It's very warm because of its high alcohol percentage. And again, I tried it with some water. It gets a little spicy, but I was a bit taken by surprise when I added some water. At first, I thought I smell cork, but then I had to transfer that smell into an environment, and it's like a damp wine cellar. It's some people say mushroomy, walking through an autumn forest. That kind of smells they come up when you add a little bit of water. There's some notes of truffle oil, hazelnut liqueur even, and when it develops further, I immediately said to Becky, "There's some mint going on here. Might be menthol." And she said, "No, it's more like tea, like mint tea. But there's this sweetness going on, so there might have been a little spoon of honey in the mint tea." And then you go for some fruitcake, some figs, and the finish. There's that ginger again. The ginger with maybe a dusting of cinnamon and very dry herbs. It's one to savor, one to contemplate over, and just simply enjoy it and have fun, because let's not forget, this is all about fun. Let's not take whiskey too seriously. It's nice you got.
Cheers to that, Hans. Very nice. So, guys, are you ready for another round of questions in the Spirit of Speyside pub quiz?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. So,
Nice you got.
Hans, over to you. You can go through the questions this time. Very nice.
Okay, I'll do the questions. You do the answers.
Guys, are you ready for another round of questions
yeah.
in the Spirit of Speyside pub quiz?
I am.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Question
let's
number
do
one.
it.
Here we go.
Hans, over to you. You can go through the questions this time.
Good.
Very nice.
Okay, I'll do the questions. You do the answers.
Guys, are you ready for another round of questions in the Spirit of Speyside pub quiz?
I am.
Absolutely.
Question number one. Here we go. I have a little bit of a problem here with which one do I have to put?
I'll do the questions. You.
Okay. Now I can't hear myself anymore. Can you all hear me? Because I can't.
Hans, on you go.
I can't hear myself. It's strange.
Okay.
So
well, I'll ask the questions and then you can come back and do the answers. Let's give that a shot. So,
okay.
Question one. In the winter of 1992, cask number 100.1 was introduced to the Society bottlings. Which distillery did it come from? And an extra point for how old it was. Okay. Question two. Glenlossie shares a site with which other Speyside distillery? Would that be Glen Elgin, Manachmore, Glen Spey, or Inchgower? For the Society members, which of our 12 flavour profiles is this colour? 4. 3 of the below Speyside distilleries have something in common, but what is it? There are 2 possible answers to this one, so 2 points if you get both of them correct. From Colburn, Dallasdew, and Parkmore. Tricky. Question 5. Again, one for the hardcore Society members, I think. Name the flavour profile for each of the 3 Society bottlings below. 1. Fata Morgana. 2. A bowl of bacon porridge. And 3. Goise beer breakfast. Some good names, but what are the flavour profiles for each of those bottlings? 6. What are the 3 main components of grist, or ground up malted barley? 7. The Gaelic word dhu, more often spelled DHU, means what? Is it A, hillock, B, green, C, black, D, knoll? 8. Identify these 3 distilleries from photographs taken for Unfiltered magazine. I recognize them all. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Tricky. Question 9. Which Speyside distillery was known as Glen Grant number 2? Was it A, Glenrothes, B, Glen Spey, C, Speyburn, or D, Capardonnach? And the final question. Which Speyside distillery was one of the first to use wine casks for additional maturation, specifically Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay casks? And as a wee hint for this one, the 2 expressions from Elgin were released in 1999. Okay, I'm not going to take the answers just yet.
I'm
Are you
back.
with us?
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you, Hans.
Hear you loud and
Finally.
clear.
Hey, hi.
So you weren't able to ask the questions, Hans. Can you answer them?
I can answer them, all of them.
Okay.
So let's go.
Okay,
Can you pull up the slides, please?
I will.
I'd like to start with question 1.
There we go.
Okay. In the winter of 1992, that was cask number 100.1 was introduced. Which distillery did it come from? Well, that was Strathmill. And you could earn 2 extra points if you guessed the year. Now, in the Netherlands, we have an esteemed member who shall not be named. He knows every single code by head. He usually knows a lot more about that too. So we often play a game. When I did my regular tastings in the Netherlands, we would always ask him, "Come, tell what you think it is," and he always came up with the right answer. This was a 12-year-old. Move on to question number 2, please.
Oh, gone too far. There you go.
Yeah, which distillery is the sister distillery of Glenlossie? Of course, that's Man of Moor. They have been working in tandem for quite some time. Now we go to question number 3, and this is not easy because a lot of screens are calibrated differently. So I can imagine that not everybody found this the easiest one to answer, but it is sweet, fruity, and mellow. Question 4. 3 of the below Speyside distilleries have something in common. What is it? There are 2 possible answers, and again, 2 points if you get them both. First, all 3 of them were single malts. Second, none of the 3 are in production anymore. Actually, Dallas Dhu is now a museum. Parkmore and Colburn have been dismantled and are in use for storage and as maturing whiskey in their warehouses. We'll continue to question 5, and now we get to the heart of the members. These are the real SMWS aficionados, and I mean that very, very kindly, the geeks or the anoraks. Yes, that was the term. I think Dave Broom coined that for the first time, the whiskey anoraks. So there's some guesses here. The Fata Morgana, which flavor profile was that? Sweet, fruity, and mellow. Bowl of bacon porridge, young and sprightly. And the Goes a beer breakfast, which is a favorite of Chris Laureus, who is the Belgian ambassador for the SMWS, and he's also very, very knowledgeable about beer, and Goes is really one of his favorites. That was the Juicy Oak and Vanilla. 6, the 3 main components of grist. You know, when the barley is ground in the mill, there's 3 parts that are sifted out, and they come in a certain percentage each. And we would like to know the names of the 3 components. And they are husks, grits, and flour. Question number 7. The Gaelic word do, and please correct me, guys, if my pronunciation isn't what it should be. I'd like to know what it means. Is it a hillock? Is it the Gaelic word for green? Does it mean black, or is it a knoll, kind of even smaller than a hillock? It means black. Question 8. These 3 distilleries, which one are they? Well, number 1 on the left, that's Dalmonach, on the place where, and you could earn an extra point if you had answered it was where Imperial used to be. Number 2 is Tamdhu, and number 3 is Glentochas. So you could earn 3 points here if you wanted to, and then bonus point for Imperial. Well, this is a Mark Watt question. You all know Mark Watt. He made Glen Grant number 2 famous by telling he liked it so much, and suddenly everybody wanted to drink it. Not everybody knows that Mark also was the bar manager for a while at the Vaults when he was studying at Edinburgh University. But that's a long, long time ago. Of course, we're talking Caperdonic here. And then we go to the last question. Yeah, we really had to force Ian to allow us to put this in. Of course, there can only be one answer, and that's Linkwood. Oh, sorry, no, it's Glenmoray, of course. These were the questions. We'd love to hear from you all via our Facebook page what your scores were. If you found it difficult, easy, if you want to do this more often, because we can come up with a lot of pub quizzes and with much more difficult questions if you want us to. Richard.
Yeah, great stuff.
You're the host.
Ian, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing it.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Great.
Thanks
to see you. And, hope to see you up in Speyside before too long.
Absolutely. I hope everybody gets the opportunity to come back. We've missed Spirit of Speyside. I'm sorry I missed your tasting hands with the technical glitch, but I'm sure it was wonderful as always. And I'm slightly disappointed this is a virtual pub, because listening to Nick and Donald singing and Hans doing a tasting, it's the kind of bar I would definitely sit in. So cheers. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should be there again
Cheers.
next time.
Stay safe.
See you next.
Bye.
Okay, Hans, we're going to round things off with a wee bit more music. We're going back to Skye, and hopefully Donnie's there, ready to go, getting the mouthy around his neck.
Yep, I've been having a few glasses of the Glenmoray. It's a big seller on Skye. The local co-op does a big sale in the Glenmoray.
Brilliant. Right, Donnie, over to you.
Yeah, I do. I'll do something I wasn't going to do. Just the talk of some blues harmonica. I think I have not done any of that for a while, so I'll just batter on with a wee blues
Brilliant.
number. Left my home upon the road around. I told my pa I was stepping out of town. I got those honky-tonk blues. I got those honky-tonk blues. Oh Lord, I got those honky-tonk blues. I went to a dance and I will wrap my shoes. I woke up this morning wishing I could lose. I got those honky-tonk blues. I got those honky-tonk blues. Oh Lord, I got those honky-tonk blues. Well, I stopped off at every place in town. I popping bar, stepping out of town. I got those honky-tonk blues. I got those honky-tonk blues. Oh Lord, I got those honky-tonk blues. I'm gonna took my worries underneath my arms and head right back to my papa's farm. I got those honky-tonk blues. I got those honky-tonk blues. Oh Lord, I got those honky-tonk blues.
I like that, David. That's my kind of music. Yeah.
You want more, Donny, or is that it?
I know. I've got another one. I saw someone from Chile there. I'll do one. It's a song. It's a song I wrote. It's called "Hill of the Old Woman." And it's about with the translation in Gaelic of Hill of the Old Woman is Ben Nicalich, which is a hill just in Broadford. It's a dominating hill of the little village I'm from, and I remember it kind of, it's like everybody's friend here, and it kind of feels, well, it is, it's been here longer than all the people and all the villages and all the history in the Skye, which is pretty old. But I was out on a trip to Chile, and the South Chile, and went climbing this volcano, and there's a whole community living in this live volcano, and the volcano means everything to them, even more so, than up here. So I wrote a wee song that kind of linked the two. So I'll give it a wee shot. She watches over this town, protecting us from the storms. People die and live, and generations give. Blood has fed the soil, and many years of toil, but she has been through fire, and she never hides bitterness. Her shadow protects us in grace, sleeping at peace in the dark. Silhouettes of the night waking up. Sunrise calls her retreat. Blue sea cleanses her feet, solid and buried in sand. A time only she understands. she understands. Houses built and torn, she's seen lives wrecked and worn, and countless children born. And she watches over this town, she nourishes seeds that are sown. For years they have cut down her sides and planted in line with the tides. Sunset behind in the west, flaming her burnt charcoal face. A coldness grows deep from the ground, and wisps of smoke fade without sound from our sleepy town. Some still work hard and hope, some just drink and give up, others repent and look up. She still watches us from above, oh Mother Mountain.
Well done.
Thanks very much.
That's fantastic. Great to see you.
Thank you, David.
Great to see you. Really enjoyed it.
Yes. We'll see you up in the Isle of Skye before too long, I hope.
I know, hope so. I hope so.
Right. All the best.
All the best then, guys.
Cheers, man.
Bye-bye.
Right, Hans.
Well, it was a pleasure working with you together. For us, it was really a first. We've been working together, but not in a way like we did tonight. I must say it was your initiative, and I'm glad you invited me to be your co-host. Had a wonderful time. We had a lot of visitors, more than 100, I understand.
Yeah.
And
people
they were all
as well. So a nice global audience, members near and far, joining us in the Spirit of Speyside virtual pub. So yeah, we're all learning different ways to get together. Even if we can't be physically together, then at least we can kind of bring people together online and share a dram, share some music, share some chat. So great to see you, Hans. Thanks for coming along.
Likewise.
And
thanks to all who are still watching. You were so communicative, and that's for us. It's very nice because we can see all your reactions in our live stream. And I try to respond on some, but it's impossible to respond on all the reactions. We had hundreds and hundreds of people keying in and saying nice things and interacting with each other, and that's what it's about. The society bringing people together, whether it's physically or like we've done virtually now. So thank you all for joining us. And it's weird to look in a camera and not seeing your actual friends over there, but
this is totally Hans. So thanks again for everyone who's around next Friday night. We're going to have our Highland Festival virtual pub session, and it's going to be a cracker. We have the whiskey bard himself, Robin Lang, coming into the virtual pub. He's going to do a tasting of a Highland bottling from the society, and he's going to give us some songs and maybe some poetry. So don't miss that. And apart from that, we're going to have Mr. Richard Patterson of White Mackay and Dalmore coming into the pub. So expect the unexpected. We'll let you know what Dalmore bottling he's going to be tasting next week. And that's one to be sure to be there for. So join us again next week in the virtual pub, same time, same place, on Facebook, on YouTube. Bring whatever whiskies in your glass, and thanks for joining us tonight. Remember, hashtag altogether SMWS, and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for everyone for taking part, and thanks to everyone for joining in tonight. All the best. Slange to all.
Bye, Richard. Bye-bye.
Cheers.